So the project is called Kaleidoscope, and it's based or inspired by the musical piece by the song called Kaleidoscope, written by a German musician called Nils Frahm. I'd watched an interview with him on YouTube a couple of days beforehand where he was talking about his new album All Melody, which had just been released at the time.
Hate, love, happiness, depression, being bored or being excited, everything together can be used for the music you do.
What I'm really interested in is physical feeling which sound can produce, and for me it basically comes from playing acoustic instruments. When I'm playing a note, I feel it in my fingers, I feel the vibration, I can feel the physical tension.
That really stuck out for me was that he was talking a lot about emotions and how what he wants to achieve with his music is to get an emotional reaction of the audience. And he really sort of talked in depth about how music can trigger different emotions and how he tries to influence the emotions that you feel through the music that he writes and the way he performs.
How about when you're in the flow of performing? What's going through your head?
Something like white noise, but more emotional white noise. A little bit of like a awareness. A complete awareness, as much awareness as I can afford, and that makes me sweat.
And that really got me thinking about that whole aspect of emotions and music and what actually music does to us on an emotional level. And I thought it would be quite interesting to actually go in, take a piece of his music and find out whether music is in fact a universal language, so whether no matter who listens to it, no matter if they know the piece, if they don't know the piece, if they like it, if they don't like it, if the majority of people would still feel exactly the same thing or would feel something that's very closely related to each other. And I thought it would be really cool to do that kind of research, then take all of that data, analyze it, find something that's sort of like an overarching theme to everything, and basically produce a visual piece that can then accompany the music and in a kind of way enhances the music and does the same thing for the viewer that the music does to a listener. Initially, what I really wanted and what I really thought would be really good and really important for the project is to get actually more or less an artistic statement of Nils Frahm himself. I went and read a lot of interviews with him where he talks about his music. I watched a lot of interviews with him where he talks about his music. I watched a lot of his live performances, and just to try and get a feel for how he works, how he operates, how he writes his music, and what he actually wants to get across through the music that he's performing and that he's writing. What I then set out to do was to basically create some sort of a research package or research formula that I could then take and apply to a variety of different people that come from different backgrounds and have different age ranges. And the idea behind it was to get people to express in like the most purest way what they're actually feeling throughout the piece or what the music triggers in them. So I played the musical piece to a number of people, both in bigger and smaller groups or individuals. It didn't really matter for this. I didn't give them much background on the music itself because I wanted the reaction to be very pure and very intuitive and very spontaneous as well, so that they wouldn't overthink it. And I basically gave them the means to express themselves creatively in whatever shape or form they wanted while the music was playing. So it was really interesting to see that sort of creative output that naturally just happened. And the idea was basically to have that spontaneous creative reaction that then in a kind of way reflects really purely what the person was feeling at that point, or what they were thinking about, or what the music made them thinking about.
I'm just likely watching a lovely river. Just a lovely river flowing so nicely. And just doing that, nothing rough or loud, all just nice and so comforting.
I was feeling like I was in like an ocean and moving along with it.
I felt quite like in the present more than in the past. When you like really let yourself sink into the music, that your thoughts and your emotions, they kind of build up together with the piece, and you like slowly like journeying together with the music until it reaches like its build up point before it then drops again.
All I could think about was a bonfire sort of on a rocky beach, sort of like calm but like mad.
Apart from finding out what emotional they felt, I also wanted to find out what sort of visuals they connected with it. So for me, the really, more or less, the three most important questions that I asked all of them was, did it make you think of a shape? Did it make you think of a colour? And did it make you feel a certain emotion? Really quickly, it actually turned out that a lot of people thought of the same kind of shapes and the same kind of colours. And even though they had never listened to music before, or they didn't talk to each other about those certain aspects, but the majority of people, for example, thought of the colours blue and green, and the majority of people thought of circles and triangles. Which is obviously a really interesting aspect for me, and in that kind of way it shows me that there is a similarity, and there is something that the music does to all of us, or to everybody who listens to it, that is on a level the same thing. So it does manage to trigger the exact same kind of way emotions or thoughts within us. So there's a couple of techniques that I am applying to produce the actual visual piece. The first technique that I looked into is a technique called rotoscoping. Rotoscoping basically means that I'm taking a snippet of real life footage. So in this case, I took the flight cycle of an eagle. And then I'll take that video, I split it into individual frames, and I then take those individual frames into a program like Photoshop, and I then create another layer. So I draw over the outlines of the eagle, and I basically create a hand-drawn version of that eagle. So if I then take all of those individually hand-drawn frames and put them back together into a video sequence, I basically end up with a hand-drawn animated version of the flight cycle of that eagle, and it feels very alive, but at the same time very abstract and removed, because it's not the real thing. Another technique that I looked at is particle animation. I always knew from the start that particle animation was something that I really wanted to focus on for this project, just because particles in itself are a very abstract thing. And also with the research that I did on shapes and colours, I could then take that and apply it to particles, and basically create particles that look like circles or like triangles, and give them certain colours. In a program like After Effects, I can control the size of those pieces, and obviously the shape of them and the colour of them, and I can animate them to do various different things. So I can have them fly in a swarm from left to right. I can have them follow a certain path of movement. And what I especially did with the particles for this particular project is that I've actually taken the particles and animated them to follow the beat of the music. So basically, the louder the music gets, the more and more particles appear on the screen. The quieter the music gets, less and less particles appear on the screen. heavily utilizing another way of using the particles. So in this case, I shot some footage of a group of dancers who basically improvise to the musical piece. After Effects can then take that data off a person moving around in a space and basically transform the person into particles. And then obviously I can take that data, I can abstract it, and I can turn it into something that looks a lot more abstract. But the really interesting thing for me is that all the time it's always based on a human being. It's based on somebody doing a certain movement that is triggered by an emotion that's triggered by the music. So it's something that's very real and very raw in a kind of way, then taken and being abstracted. But the essence is always that decision that that person made on the day to move in a certain way. Conducting the research for this project and creating the video has been really, really interesting for me, and I really enjoyed that whole process. It's going to be actually really, really interesting to watch people watch the video and get some reaction, get some feedback off people, and just talk to people about it, and just see whether what I've done is successful or whether it's not successful, because that's the nice thing with projects like this, because you never know what's going to be the end product. It's very much a very scary process of making something like this, because you never know how audiences are going to react to it. So I'm really, really interested, and I can't wait for people to actually see it and hear what people think about it.